My next guest is a mover and shaker in the DC area. If you lived here and tuned into 93.9 WKYS during the afternoon drive, you've heard his voice and danced to the music he plays. Or perhaps you've been in the community and participated in one of Creative Solutions for Youth, his nonprofit organization's events. Now he's put on the hat of director in his new film, Sankofa, a hip-hop project. In the studio with me, I have the man, Easy Street. Easy, what's going on, man?
All right, good to be here, bro.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man.
So usually I start at when did you first fall in love with film, but you're a little different case. So when did you first fall in love with music?
As a kid, I remember my mom and my father, they had this little raggedy turntable, and as a kid they would always be playing Isaac Hayes and Barry White and Barry Manilow and all these other kinds of music, and it just kind of got into my spirit as a kid, and I grew up to play music as a living now.
Wow. And so you, in college, you were a program director at a radio station?
Yes.
Right? Talk a little bit about that.
Kansas State University. I'm an alum. I did graduate. And I remember the first time that somebody took me into a radio studio. There was a guy on the radio by the name of Malcolm Briggs. And I was listening to the radio, listening to his show, and just checking him out and being a fan of music. And then I just hit him up one day, I was like, yo, I want to come to the studio. And he was like, yeah, sure, come on up on my show. And, I came by and he let me in, and, I got in the studio. I saw what he was doing. I saw the records. I saw the microphone, the turntables, everything. I was like, this is it, man. I'm at home. And the light bulb just went off. And that's what kind of like sparked my whole radio career of wanting to be a radio personality.
Nice. So, with film, I totally believe in the power of film and how it can change people. And I know with music, I think music surpasses film in that, music for the most part is so much more universal. It's been around for, ages, since the beginning of time, right? Mm-hmm. So can you just talk a little bit about the power that music has and how it changes lives?
Very powerful. I mean, music is, wow, what was God thinking when he created music? I mean, I think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's such an integral part of not only my life, but the lives of everyone. I mean, everywhere you go, if it's going to be a funeral, there's going to be music. It's going to be a wedding, there's going to be music. At graduation, there's going to be music.
That's true.
All these places where you go, there's going to be music. So it made a supreme impact on me my whole life. My life is dedicated around music, and I'm just, I'm glad that I'm here to be able to hear it, enjoy it, and play it and spread it to people. And I like all kinds of music too, by the way, too. All kinds.
Right, classical?
Classical, hip-hop, reggae, jazz, house, all kinds. Afrobeat, new jazz, new lounge, new soul, classic soul. I mean, I could rock, classic rock.
You could go on and on.
Oh, man, I could go on and on, man.
That's what's up. All right, so, obviously 93.9 KYS is one of the local powerhouses in radio. So how long have you been at KYS?
Wow, man. Okay, this is 2015.
Right.
Okay, it's been 20 years. I've been on the air in DC for 20 years now. Miss Hughes and Alfred brought me in 95. I was with them for 6 years. For 4 years. Then I left and went to the competition for 6 years. Then I actually went to San Francisco for nine months. After that, I wasn't really a West Coast guy, so within 9 months, I ended up coming right back to DC, and so, about 20 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That was why I was bringing it up, because you've been around for a while, and even in San Francisco, you took it from being number 6, right, to number 2.
I did very well. How did you know that?
Brother, you got to do your research now.
How did you know that?
Right. Just doing my research. That's all. All right, so we're going to take it to film now, right? Mm-hmm. So what made you want to actually make a film? Because Sankofa has been a long time coming. You've been shooting this since the 90s.
Yes. Well, it happened like this. I was hired by a company called the AfricanAncestry.com, and they basically test your DNA to help you find out where you're from in Africa. I took the test, and because I wanted to know, what tribe, what country I was from in Africa. So I'm not going to reveal it on the show. You have to watch my film for that.
Nice.
Exactly. So I took the test, I got the results, and I was like, wow, okay. you know, I wanted to take it further. I ended up interviewing the lady who is the founder of the company, Gina Page. Gina Page hired me to go on this tour that she was on. She was traveling around to different cities to promote the company, you know, and the testing to find out where you're from in Africa. And she was like, do you want to go and DJ at these events and kind of show our connection between our African roots, you know, through music?
Right.
So I went to Chicago, I performed and did a little set out at the Chicago DeSable Museum on the south side of Chicago. And it was cool, you know, I did the call and response, showing you the connection between, oh, throw your hands up and all of that. And it was cool, you know. But then I was like, you know what, this would be better as a film. And then that's how the idea was born for me to produce the Sankofa Hip Hop Project.
Okay. Now, Sankofa, before actually me checking out this film, I had no idea what the term meant. Can you talk about what Sankofa means?
Okay.
Oh,
yes.
Little show and tell.
Okay. So this is the symbol for Sankofa. It's a bird, a Sankofa bird. There's a couple of symbols that basically are called Sankofa, actually Akan symbols. It came from West Africa. On my ring I have one too. This is an Akan symbol, which is Jinami. This is the symbol for Sankofa, the bird looking back and moving forward. So Sankofa means go back and fetch it. Go back and get your history so you can move forward. And I show you that in the film. I show you all these different ways that African Americans have done with music and hip hop to move forward.
So why do you think it's important that we go back and fetch history, as you say, to move forward?
Very important. I mean, it sounds so cliche. You hear people say it all the time. You have to know where you're from so you can move forward. But it's true. You know, me knowing who I am as an African man has helped me tremendously to be able to know where I fit into this world perspective. You know, through this film and producing it, I found out so many different more connections. Like, for instance, when I got the test, when I got the DNA test from AfricanAncestry.com, they told me, and I'm not going to tell you where I'm from in Africa. You have to see the film. I found out that I'm from a tribe that likes two things, that are known for two things.
Let me guess. One was music.
One is music,
Yeah.
Exactly. They're great music makers. And number two is traveling. Both of those things are my favorite things to do, traveling and music.
Wow. So in the film, we go back to like 1996, which I thought was kind of cool because it was like Martin-esque.
Yeah,
you know, you're like,
yes.
what's up?
Yeah.
You know. But was that was your first time visiting Africa?
Yeah.
Okay.
How that happened was because I don't want people to think that I'm just this. I was thinking about doing the film in '96.
Right.
I wasn't. What happened was Miss Hughes, actually, who's the owner of Radio One and one of the founders, she asked me if I wanted to go to Africa in place of her because she couldn't make it.
Wow.
So she gave me a free trip to Africa. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes, she gave me a free trip, and so I went on this trip, and I knew I wanted to be cameraed up. I didn't think, oh, hey, you know, 20 years from now, I'm gonna make a film. I just decided that I was just gonna you know, record myself and have other people record me in Africa so I could have proof that I was really there, right? So I ended up putting that footage in the film. That's
Yeah.
how that happened.
That's awesome. So was it like beta or what, mini?
It was one
96.
of the first, yes, it was
Wow.
one of the first like handy cam that came out. It was like big and bulky like this, and it had
Right.
the little camera up there, and then it had the little place where you put your hand right there so you can like hold it.
Right.
It was one of those big square things, but hey, it worked, didn't it?
It did, and it's cool for
And
the
it was
film
gritty,
because
too.
yeah, it's like we're gonna go back.
Right.
That was dope. Okay, so the film does a great job, I think, of you know, exploring hip hop culture, and so we see the juxtaposition of hip hop culture with African culture. So could you just talk about why you felt it was important to highlight those similarities?
Wow, very important because everything that we do today is African based as far as from a hip hop perspective, but we just don't know it. And I wanted to show you that in the film. One of the very first elements of hip hop, of course, is the DJ. You know, a lot of people don't realize that the DJ started hip hop, okay? Not the rapper, not the break dancer, not the graffiti painters or anything like that. It was the DJ that started it. So I was like, DJ, okay. What do DJs do? You know, they get the party started. They play the music. They ignite the spirit and make you want to dance. And I just looked back and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I done seen all these African drummers all over the place. They're basically doing the same things. They're both playing music to ignite the spirit to make you want to dance.
Right.
So I just kind of just drew those connections. And actually, in the film, I spoke to Erykah Badu about that, and she saw the connection as well.
Yeah, so that's part of the film as well. You bring in these faces that everyone knows. You got Common, Snoop, Erykah Badu, as you were saying, Mary J. Blige. I love that scene where you brought in Chucky. Right? Yeah, but you're talking about sampling.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it's this heartfelt moment between her and he produced for her, right?
Chucky Thompson.
Yeah.
In DC, yeah.
Okay, so you got that heartfelt moment, and then it just allows her to kind of open up and talk about sampling. Can you talk about maybe what inspired that scene?
Well, I knew that she was coming to town, and I knew that Chucky produced all these great records, with Bad Boy. And I wasn't sure how long it had been since they'd seen each other. So I was like, wouldn't it be great, for me to guess who's behind door number one?
Right.
Take you back to your past. It was kind of like one of those things,
Right.
And then I just kind of planned it all out. She came in the studio. I had Chucky in another studio. She had no idea he was going to be there. And then we brought him in, and I made sure all the cameras were rolling to capture that moment.
Yeah. And
she almost cried, bro.
I know, man. I thought she did.
Yeah, she was nearly in tears and
done.
Right. And what was amazing about that whole scene to me is the fact that, as artists, they produce art to make you feel something. That's what Mary J. Blige sings for, to make you feel an emotion. But in that scene, I made her feel an emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, I think as a viewing audience, you felt that emotion as well, because you could tell it was genuine. You know what I mean? For a second, she was sitting there and she's having the professional radio, interview that she's got to do. I'm sure that's on her schedule. And then boom, it was like the human, this is just Mary. You know what I mean? So that was an awesome moment. All right. So what's been the reception so far of the film?
It's been very good. Very good. I have teachers hitting me up. Schools want to show it. It's been wonderful so far. Ever since I put it on YouTube, I probably got like 300 hits. I need more hits, please. Go to.
Go ahead, plug it.
We'll do that at the end, but see my film, please. Go ahead.
All right.
It's been really good though, man. I mean, everyone has seen the film is like, wow, man. One of the things that I thought that I was gonna have a problem with is, when you produce a film, I thought, well, how do I capture people's attention and keep it for this whole hour?
Right.
Because I took a lot of stuff out. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it in the film because it was getting too long. But the way I sliced it and diced it, I just kept it moving really quickly. And then from, people's responses after that, they were like, yo, you just kept me, on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next. So when I started hearing comments like that, I knew I did something right.
Yeah. Maybe you could go ahead and give just a synopsis of what the film is all about, and just for the people that are watching or listening.
Well, the film is about, and I'm going to tell you a story too about the Africa footage, because there's a story behind that too. The film is about me showing you all these things that we do with music, whether it be DJing, whether it be breakdancing, graffiti painting, all these other elements of hip hop, where they correspond with Africa, because there is a tie-in there, there's a deep link there, but on the surface we don't see it. But that was one of my journeys in producing this film, was to go inside, to seek these things out, to do my research, to talk to people, to interview people, to tie all these things together and to weave them into a nice little package to present to people. Now, the Africa footage originally, in the very first screening of the film that I did at University of Maryland, was not in the film. It wasn't in the film. I screened it, but my son said to me, he said, Dad, how come you didn't put any more Africa footage in the film? Because I did have one little clip. Remember there's a scene in the film where I had the little boy from Senegal rapping in Wolof, in French. That was actually on Gorée Island in Dakar, Senegal. I only had that clip in the film, but my son said, Dad, why don't you put some more of he said, I wanted to see more of that, because that would kind of show, your motivation for wanting to do this film. And I thought about it. He said, I know you didn't want it to become into a vanity piece, this film is about me, He's like, but, I think that would bring it together to kind of show, how long you've been at this and why you would want to produce a film like that. And he was right.
Okay. Yeah,
Shout
I
out to my
definitely
son.
I agree with him.
Yes.
Because it was great just to actually be able to see that, but it's also a journey piece, right? So it's your journey through hip hop, teaching us about the 5 pillars and all that stuff. So I mean, I think your son was right on.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about creative solutions for youth. And can you just let us know about your nonprofit organization, exactly what you do? Because I think that kind of also ties in to why you wanted to make a film like this.
Absolutely. Creative Solutions for Youth is a nonprofit I produced, I think in 1999. And I just wanted to try to produce a nonprofit or entity that was able to teach different little, well, one of my first projects was I wanted to get 90,000 condoms out on the streets of DC. And I produced a relationship with DC government to be able to get the condoms and to distribute, because it was the issue. At that time, like DC ranked #1 for teen HIV infections, and I wanted to, be part of the solution.
Right.
So
was that when they had like the major? It was like on all
yes,
the buses and everything.
Yes,
okay,
all
yeah.
on the buses, and they were like, "Well, hey, there's an epidemic going on in DC that's bigger than some countries in Africa." It was around that time,
Right.
So I just kind of took it upon myself to creatively come up with a solution to get out there to spread the word around. I produced these pallets and flyers, and I went around to these different churches and different organizations, and I gave them free condoms to distribute to the young people and also to the adults that needed them. So that was kind of the motivation, one of the motivations behind it. I wanted to try to come up with creative ways to be able to educate people on different things, whether it would be through HIV and AIDS, whether it would be this film, a creative way to solve an issue. And the problem was we didn't know who we were. We didn't know that these things were connected. So that's what the film did. I wanted to show you the connection between all these different pieces of the puzzle.
Awesome. All right, so what would you say is the message that you want your audience to receive in watching the film?
The message that I wanted to put out, that's a good question. One of the messages that I wanted to get out there is the importance of knowing your history. I mean, knowing where you come from, knowing that these things are interrelated, and kind of make you want to seek it out for yourself. Don't believe what I say. I'm just presenting all these pieces. Now it's time for you to go out there and do your own research and find out these things and make it part of your life. And then make sure you teach it to someone else, because somebody taught me, and then I began to produce this film to teach other people.
Yeah.
The other part of it was, if you remember, there was like a family in the film. There was a family in the film too. I put them in the film. There was a dramatization. I wanted to do that so to teach you as a parent, if you didn't know how, you had, the problem was the kids were getting bad grades. They didn't know who they were. I set up a goal for them. I helped them with their study plan. And at the end of the film, I had to give up some Jordans because they got all A's.
Right.
So, I did that very purposely because I wanted to show you that there are plenty of opportunities. I mean, with the age of the internet that we have, there's no reason why your kids don't know about Africa, where they come from, then all the events that happen in DC. I didn't say this in the film, but there was a scene where you see them go to an event, actually in the film as a family. That was Fela.
Okay.
It was the Broadway play Fela that came to DC. Of course, Fela was produced by Jay-Z, Beyonce, Will Smith, and all of them.
Right.
And I just wanted to show you that, these events happen. Take your kids to them.
Okay. All right, awesome. So, Easy, thanks for coming on and talking to us. Where can people follow you, find the film? Go ahead.
All right, follow me at Easy Street on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My website, the official website for me is easystreetshow.com. And you can listen to me on the radio from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. on 93.9 WKYS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brother, thank you for coming on. Thank you for creating the film.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.